So I'll start off. My name is Stephanie. I'm the recruitment coordinator here with the Faculty of Applied Science and Engineering at U of T. I'm also joined on the back end by my colleague Erin, who's going to be supporting with some of the questions in the Q&A. We're also joined by two amazing panelists who I will introduce in a second. To touch just upon the layout tonight, so we'll start out with some introductory questions so that you can get to know them a little bit better and just hear more about their experiences. And then we can open it up to your questions. If you folks have anything that you want to ask, you'll notice that the Q&A feature is open. So please make use of that for any kind of questions that you want answered. And if we're not able to answer them tonight, Aaron might ask you to send us an email, and Aaron can, I believe he's already entered the email in the chat one step ahead. He might even be able to answer that in the Q&A for you. All right, so with that, we'll officially get started and kick it off. So we are joined tonight by Benjamin Rubinoff, who studied industrial engineering and is currently working as a senior manager in acquisition analytics at RBC Direct Investing. And we also have Cassie Cheng, who is currently in engineering science in the math, statistics, and finance stream. She did her PEY at the Independent Electricity System Operator as an analyst intern in the Market Assessment and Compliance Division. So we have two really cool perspectives tonight. Definitely like different experiences, which is always great to kind of hear about that interdisciplinary experience with engineering. And I'm really excited to be talking to you both and hear what you want to share about your experiences. So with that, we'll get started with the questions, and we'll start with Ben, and then Kathy, you can also follow up and answer. So to begin, do you want to introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about your program of study, and more about your job or your PY?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Ben. As you mentioned, I studied industrial engineering. I would have graduated about 5 years ago, so right into the pandemic. So super fun time to join the workforce. A little bit of my career journey so far. So I started with my PUI at CIBC, so that's where I kind of got into the finance industry. And then after graduating, I joined RBC through the new grad program. Held a few different roles at RBC since, but as you mentioned, I'm in direct investing now, which is essentially RBC's self-directed brokerage. So it's for people who invest their own money. We don't give them advice. We just kind of build the tools for them to do it. And that said, I do a whole bunch of analytics and strategy work in that division to see how people use our platform and how we can design our platform better. But I'll pass it over to Cassie as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie. I'm currently engineering science 2T5, so it's my final year right now. So my major is engineering, mathematics, statistics, and finance. So my PY, I was working at the IESO, basically the power market, specifically the electricity market. So for people that from Toronto, you guys definitely know about like OPG or like Hydro One. They're like the people that generates and transmit the power. And for us, we are the regulators. And for specifically my team, we were supervising the whole market behavior to make sure that the Ontario's lights are stay on and the markets are stay fair. And whether the flows of the money has been like acting normal. So yeah, that's my current journey.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Two extremely important roles and very different like sectors, which is really interesting to see like where you can land when it comes to engineering. So to kick us off and ask another question, what initially drew you both to study engineering, and did you always know you wanted to go into the field you were in now? We can follow the same pattern. We can maybe
Sure.
Ben, you start us off and then we go to Cassie.
Sure, yeah, I can
Yeah,
definitely kick this one off. So
yeah.
would have been a bit a while ago. But I do remember something that I always knew is I was a big fan of puzzles. I always really like solving stuff. And what really excited me about engineering is it's all about kind of gaining additional tools to solve those puzzles and doing more and more complicated puzzles as you go. So I kind of always knew that engineering was something that I wanted to do. The specific industry I ended up in finance, that wasn't something that was super intentional coming into university. I knew I wanted to do industrial. I knew I wanted to work somewhere with data. But ending up in finance, that was, I'm sure we'll get into more later, but very much a result of my PUI. I took a shot in the dark, ended up in a PUI that wasn't finance and ended up really, really enjoying it. So stuck with it.
That's wonderful. I always find it so fascinating because even a lot of friends, I also went to U of T for mechanical engineering. I went for mechanical engineering, and I always find it interesting when people like just enjoyed their PY so much, and then it really does change your path, which I found so cool. And for those who may not know, so PY is our professional year of experience. So it's the co-op year that you can go on after your third year of study here. And I'll send it off to Cassie to give your answer.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
And for my answer, it's actually a no at the very first start because I was very good at math in high school, so I was kind of firm to study math for university in my life. So, and then I got the inside offer, and I was like taking a little bit of research on that, on like the course schedules. We have to study basically everything, math, physics, chemistry, aerospace stuff in the first 2 years, and then we can choose our major in third year. And I was kind of attracted to the course schedules, and I was like, yeah, why not? Because at that time I didn't realize, or I didn't know what kind of industry that I wanted to get into. So I was like, yeah, let's just have a try and let's try to see what kind of courses that I'm actually enjoyed.
Absolutely. It definitely like having the opportunity to get to learn so many different subjects, like and just areas is like so
Yeah.
exciting. And even like through like building those foundations and then getting to specialize, that is what like an advantage to like get to know what you like, which I found was my like journey in my degree. I was like, what do I like? It's kind of like that overarching picture.
Yeah, there's
Awesome.
always a question for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And another question for you both. What made U of T's engineering program stand out to you when you were deciding where to pursue your post-secondary studies? So essentially, like, why did you pick U of T?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I remember back to high school. I had a few tough choices for like which university I want to go to, and it was a tough choice because we're kind of spoiled for choice where there's a lot of very strong programs, especially in Ontario, and academically a lot of them will make you very successful. I think the reason and what really stood out to you about U of T to me was the people. I remember going to visit the campus and not just seeing how the student volunteers were interacting with the applicants, kind of seeing how they were interacting with each other. That's something that was really special to me because I saw they were all friends, they were all part of a community, and that's something that I was really looking for on top of my studies. So that's what really made the final choice for me to come to U of T.
Oh, I love that. I completely agree. I think community and like a tight-knit one really does like help just make your experience like wonderful. It really does add so much to the to your 4 years here, or five if you do a co-op. But yeah, and then Cassie, you can take it away.
Yeah, and for me, I guess it's more about like curriculums because they're very attractive and very unique to me. Because for engineering science, we always are learning some like engineering intuitions. We have like our civil courses in first year. We can build our own bridges and test as like a limit when we are put like very heavy stuff on that. And we have our praxis design projects where we had a chance to like use a 3D printing to print out prototypes and also do like a lot of like AutoCAD stuff. And like to third year, we had a chance to learn financial knowledge, which tied to my major, that like micro macro stuff, as well as some quantitative models that may be using like the current financial industry. These are the things that I mean like a typical math or like a Rodman students couldn't have the chance to learn about. So I think that's the things that actually attracts me to the program. Yeah.
Yeah, get to dip your toe in everything. Become like very well-rounded in that sense. That's awesome. And then to chat just a little bit about like your career paths, whether it be like Ben, I know you've like done a couple of different positions, and Cassie, even just with your PY experience, could you take us through some of the day-to-day responsibilities and what life in your role or roles looked like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of have because I've been in the industry a few years now, I've accumulated a whole bunch of stuff. So I wouldn't say
Mhm.
my day to day is really the same every day. But to kind of give the general themes is I'd say about like half of my job is just general analytics. So being the very analytics power team within direct investing. Anytime someone wants to try a new strategy or expand something or add a new feature that doesn't relate to my team, often we're the people that are able to help them out. So be a kind of these random ad hoc projects that can take a few hours, can take a couple of days, but that's kind of half of it. And the other half is more on the strategy side, where there's projects that relate more to my team. So as previous on the pricing team, now I do acquisition or retention. Any project related to that, we're trying to either optimize a process or improve some flow or retain clients better. So kind of doing the analytics side of that, but also doing the project management side, the stakeholder, working with other people, trying to figure out how does it actually fit into the business. So that's probably how I spend about 80% of my time and a bunch of other random stuff. So,
Yeah, it sounds like got a lot on your plate. There's definitely
oh,
always something to do. But
never a dull moment.
definitely. It's so cool that you like there is also that aspect of like that sense of new, like getting to like try and build those new features or like because that's like that crux of problem solving that I feel like is innate in engineering, like wanting to solve those new problems. That's so cool. Well, I love that. And then yeah, Cassie, if you want to chat about your PY experience, I know you, yeah, take it
Of
away.
course. Yeah. Since like I'm new to the whole industry and right now I'm still like finishing up my final year. So back in my PUI role, I was supporting the seniors within the teams for their own cases because our cases are usually involves like tons of money flows and a lot of like stages. You have to interact with like different teams as well as like having some market participants interactions as well. So my role, I firstly done a lot of stuff. I did some data analysis using like Pythons and like and SQL as well. That's part of our basic role for as a PY student there. And next, my team gave me some chance to learn to do some regulatory research, how to understand the rules and standards within Ontario market, and I got the chance to learn about like some trading strategies that market participants use, using our like past history and also like data that within the whole systems. And finally, some there are some like meetings with different cross-functional teams. Like we had meetings with our settlement teams where we actually settled down the monies to send out to the market participants, and we'll continue to discuss about like on like a base like a case level stuff. So it really varies for me for every single day depending on like what kind of case that I'm involving in and what my seniors want me to do. But I feel like I got like a very great chance to like learn not only like data analysis part but also like learn about the whole market in general and how the system operates, and as well as on more regulatory side, which is something that I've never dreamed about before.
Yes, absolutely. It's always like a cool experience when in your PY you're like the doors are open to something you would have never thought to get that experience in. It really does kind of like give you like just more information on like what engineering can entail and like all the different like areas that people like touch upon. Even like Ben, as you had mentioned, like project management. Like I feel like that was something where when I was entering university, did not like recognize that that ends up being really important, like in so many different roles. And then yeah, Cassie, like getting to see like that regulatory side, like that's so cool. It's something that I would never think can like, so many different hats, so many different hats. Wonderful. I also want to remind folks that if you also want to input any questions you have in the Q&A function, happy to have those. I'll keep continuing because we do have questions prepared with us. So another question for you both. What inspired you to choose your specific field, and how did your engineering degree help you make that decision? So I know, like obviously, we've kind of touched upon different areas of this, and then Cassie, not fully like complete, but even like if there's certain things from your courses that have like made you think of different doors, like things like that. So if you guys wanted to just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was really my PY, but what landed me on that PY is
Yeah.
I had no idea what field I wanted to go to. I just had a very good idea of what things I liked. So I knew kind of what I wanted the work to be, the context was just kind of where I ended up doing it. So I knew I really enjoyed my courses that were heavy into optimization, the courses that were coding heavy. I do a lot of SQL. I did a lot of SQL then. I still do a lot of SQL now, a lot of Excel, a lot of Python. All of these kind of tools I learned in engineering that I really, really liked. I want to apply them to my PY. So the field was more just where I found a job that encompassed all of that. But those skills I really want to carry forward with.
That's wonderful. Oh, I remember in my first year, like learning like different coding languages, and like my high school did not teach them, so my mind was like, wow, you can do so much with this. So that's awesome that like you took that and you knew that you liked it, and you were like, well, I would like to include this in whatever I do. That's
Yeah.
amazing, and like getting to like just become so versatile in so many different things. That's wonderful. And what
Yeah.
about yourself, Cassie?
For me, I feel like my PY was like the opportunity came and I just grab it, and it turns out that I love it so much. And in terms of my engineering degree, how that helped me to my current role, was basically because of two concepts. Basically, when I was like working in the power market, you have to understand the engineering concept because you have to know you have to understand what are the generators, what are the transmitters, what's the difference between like a 500 kV line and 300 kV line, what are the loads and what are their capacity limits. So those are the stuff that you need to have like a fundamental like engineering background so that you can understand those concepts and also catch up with like what seniors are talking about during like the team meeting. So that's like huge essentials for being like part of my work life. And secondly, in terms of like financial aspects, since my work is involves a lot of like cost benefit analysis, I need to figure out how the arbitrage opportunity coming out from like the import and export, demand and supplies, and those need to involve the financial mindset. So that's my major. MSF also equipped me to like having those mindset, and I could apply them to my PY work.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, I feel like whenever you learn something and you can apply it to, I always feel like it's like, oh my God, it's like, it's one of those, like, I know this. So it's like always a cool opportunity to kind of like have that experiential learning experience and like get to like apply what you've learned. That's wonderful. Also, we have some questions in the chat. So one of them being, how does engineering differ from traditional finance programs when breaking into the field? So I don't know. I feel like potentially if Ben, if you maybe like have
Yeah.
some insight you might want to bring up in this question.
Yeah, I can definitely give a bit of insight. I mean, I don't have a finance degree, so I only
Yeah.
really get my experience from like people I've worked with that have finance degree.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it tends to be in my old role, I worked with a lot of engineers. My current role, I work with, I'd say probably a lot more people with finance degrees than previously.
Yeah.
I think the skill set is similar but different in the workforce environment. I think you both have a very good idea of how do you build a business case, how do you do project management. Those aspects are shared. But I think what I found was really special about my degree and kind of going into it is kind of that analytical problem solving mindset, where you're making fewer assumptions. You'll still have to make some assumptions, but you're trying to limit how many assumptions you're making and trying to calculate as much as you can to really make sure that decision you're making is the best at the end of the day. I think finance is a super cool program, and some very, very smart people I work with came through there. It's just a little bit of a different lens on a similar problem.
Yes. That abs I think that was a wonderful answer. I feel like I completely agree even with what you were saying, like from my own understanding, like completely agree. And even like Cassie with your, because in your specific stream, you're doing like math, statistics, and finance. Do you find like just I guess compared to other streams or even those first two courses, like kind of differences that you've noticed and like the concepts you're seeing and like as opposed to like those other like first two like kind of more foundational material? Like did anything kind of jump out with to you?
Yeah. So from my experience, when I was in third year, we were not only studying about like fundamental finance stuff, we definitely went through like micro and macro concept that's like basically the fundamentals for entering like getting like a financial industry job. But what we build on that is like more quantitative models. We're learning how to use codes. We're writing out the Python codes and how to use the codings to solve those optimization problems. And I feel like that's the unique part when we get a engineering degree instead of like a pure finance degree. We have a stronger technical backgrounds and we have like different skill sets. Yeah.
And again, two wonderful answers. Yeah, I feel like there definitely is that like I know something that I walked away from like when leaving the degree was that engineering like design process, like even just the way that you approach something, like the like how you're setting it up, the that ideation phase, like even just figuring out your like Ben you'd mentioned like your stakeholders, like your client, like you're just there's such a structured way to address a problem, which I feel like is a very unique kind of way to jump into problem solving. Yeah, totally agree that there's different skill sets that we're all learning in every program. And then we have another question in the chat. This one, it is specifically directed to you, Ben. How did you decide industrial engineering over others like engineering science, electrical, and mechanical, and how was the actual course experience? What do industrial engineers learn, and like how is that kind of comparative?
Yeah, that's a very good question. That that was a
Yeah.
tough choice because I think the other programs I were considering were mechanical and sci.
Oh wow.
So that's very, very pertinent. I think, trying to think what the big separator was. I was big into optimization. I didn't know too much about it in high school, but I had a decent idea of kind of building a model of a system and then optimizing within that system. I thought mechanical was really interesting to me. I don't know. I know you did mechanical. I think I was really interested in mechanical as like individual tools, individual tasks, just the kind of jobs you got after weren't really what I wanted to do in my day to day. I think I very much like an office setting, for example, which mechanical can lend to, but doesn't always in downtown Toronto. And then Enshai versus Indy, that was a trick one, Indy being industrial. I honestly can't remember how I made the choice. I think industrial had a couple more courses that fit better, and I think it was also more specialized in the earlier years. First year is still fairly general for industrial, but then you kind of dive in second year with a few more optimization courses and human factors courses and other stuff related to the program earlier on. So I think that was kind of the big separators for me.
Absolutely. I even wanted to, I think you both have mentioned it like throughout the idea of like looking at those course calendars. I think that's such a great tool, even for people that are like interested in these programs, like the academic course calendars that we have available that tell you the different courses that you can take, whether it be an NSci or an industrial or any of the programs. That is it's a really great way to kind of like see what you would be learning, like what is interesting you more, and like just even to hear that that helped you, Ben. Like that was one of the tools that you were like, I am taking this into account, like while I make my decision. Like that's great. That's wonderful. Also, Cassie, there is a question for you in the chat as well. Is the finance stream in NSci geared towards preparing you for a career in, here it says in quant finance,
Yeah.
or would a program like Rotman be better for that field? I don't know if you may not like have like a full picture, but even if you want to give like your opinion on this.
Yeah, I actually have
Yeah.
some views for that. So, if you wanted to go to for a quant, you definitely need to know how to do codes, and you definitely need to learn those quantitative models, which is something that MSF will provide. In third year, we have one courses called MIE 375, and it's taught by the head of MSF, and he basically just walk us through um all the models that we are going to use, and we're going to actually implement it in in the actual basis, and how to write the codes for that. And I believe that is is the fundamentals for getting like quant related jobs. And in terms of when you're saying about like a Rodman program, I wouldn't say that Rodman program is not good. It's just inside or even for MSF we have like more variety courses and like deeper learning for the financial knowledge, that's for sure. And I just want to add on, I'm currently taking Rodman courses right now. So yeah, inside students can take Rodman courses, but I don't think Rodman students can take any inside courses. So yeah, I think that's my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it. I will say, even I remember like, because when are you doing Rotman courses to be able to like complete a minor? Is that like one of the paths you're pursuing, or is it like part of your?
No, it's like part of our technical electives. Like you can
Gotcha.
choose the course at in final years, and we can choose like ramen courses. So I'm actually taking some trading strategy courses recently, and
Wow.
that was super fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That does sound that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
Another I really this is such a great question. I like this one a lot. Going into U of T engineering, did you have a favorite class that like kind of influenced you or impacted you any way when you were whether like yeah, choosing PUI or in general, I guess like impacting your choice like field wise?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I don't know if my favorite class actually impacted my career choice too.
That's fair.
But there's a couple classes in operations research that were really, really cool. There's, as an industrial engineer, you got to take operations research one, two. But my favorite class was actually the cases in operations research. And essentially what that class was is every single week you got a new problem. So you get the problem on the Monday, on the Tuesday you discuss as a class, you kind of take it away with your team. I'll work on it in a lab and then bring it back on the Thursday and discuss more broadly. So a very week by week cases course. But that one was really, really interesting because you get a lot of I wouldn't say real world examples, but kind of somewhere between class and real world examples. And your whole job would be very broadly build a model and get the best solution you can, and find a way to argue that your solution is the best, and try to prove that your solution is the best through the data and optimization. So you could use any tool you wanted, whether it's Python, Excel, or anything else. But that class, it was definitely stressful when it came up to the deadline, but quite a lot of fun when you finally got over that hump and got the answer.
Oh, absolutely. Even that like collaborative aspect, like of getting to like kind of see how other people want to approach different things. That's so cool. I love that. What about you, Cassie? Do you have like a favorite class that maybe had like an impact on you?
I mean, maybe not having like an impact, but like have some like relationship with that. So,
Yeah.
I had like there's a course that I really love when I was studying my third year, and it's actually a course from Ben, your faculty. It's like an MIE course, and it's also like a linear optimization course. I just found like the course base itself, it is very interesting, and I had like a great time learn about that. And the professor that actually taught this course, he was working for Hydro One before. So I was started to learn about the energy sector like during the class that he was talking about because he was always like chit-chatting about like the energy news, like what are some markets. He will always giving his like perspective on that. And maybe that's how kind of aroused my interest towards like the energy sectors. And yeah, and I feel fortunate to like then got the job in the energy sector and finally found my love to that. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That's awesome. I kind of I love that connection. Like the way like it almost like a segue.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And I there's a question in the chat that it's kind of one of the ones that I'm ready to ask you guys. So when it comes to like advice, let's say for like a high schooler who's interested in the field, whether it be like math or finance or like kind of in this world, like do you have specific advice to prepare or like help decide if they how to know if you want to do this kind of that so it kind of advice advice question.
Well, that's a tricky one. Like, I definitely am I won't say biased, but I have my chunk of advice, and it's very much I do a lot of interviews for new grads. I kind of help with the new grad program, which is how I joined RBC. So I every year do a whole lot of interviews and resume reviews for it. And I think something that's really important both for getting into university, but also from university to the workforce is what do you do that's not your education? What do you do that's not your classes? How do you build those connections? And I think it's my best advice is don't just sign up for the stuff that you think will look good on a resume, but kind of find something that you're excited about and just do it. Because it's really clear when you're talking about something that you're genuinely excited about in an interview versus something that you just kind of did to get a few lines on your resume. So find a way to get involved, meet a bunch of people, especially in university. You're going to be meeting people that are in industries all across the board, kind of coming back from their professional experience here, people about to go on it, people that are alumni coming back to alumni events. So getting involved and kind of meeting the people through that involvement is going to be a massive step up in your career and in university.
Definitely. That's great advice. I completely agree that like I think talking and to just like different people was like one of the biggest eye openers for me because even just by talking to other people you just learn more about what else is out there and kind of like getting to figure out like is this right for me? Like do I enjoy like the examples that they're saying? Even like to everyone on this call, like you hearing Ben and Cassie's experience, like that's going to be really informative for you and kind of just understanding is this the right fit for yourself? And what about you, Cassie? Do you have like any advice just in general of people who like want to prepare themselves for a career in this or help them decide if they want to do it?
Actually, I was about to say the same suggestion
Yeah, yeah.
because like, for me, I feel like the key takeaways from my approach to learn about finance and like to getting to know about the industry is like start early. Like never ever stop asking people, never ever stop talking to people, learn about like what is the markets going on because like new things are like just immersing in the market and you have to get to know people and you have to know different aspects so that you can find what actually you like because I feel like finance industry is such like a huge industry. You can there's like tons of work. People like work from buy side or even from sell sides and you never ever know what they are actually do until you talk to them. So like talking, connections, networking is very important. So always start that early. Yeah, that's my suggestion.
Absolutely. We're all on the same page. Absolutely, absolutely. And then one of a popular question that's come up that is also one of the ones I wanted to ask you both was what's one of the maybe like the more prominent or biggest like challenges that you would have encountered, whether it be like on your in your career journey or your university journey, and how did you overcome it?
Ooh, my answer is going to be completely tied to the last question, but
That's
for
okay, yeah.
me, hopefully the challenge I ran into is one that other people will run into. I graduated into a pandemic,
Right.
which I was very lucky. I had gotten my job before the pandemic hit, but kind of starting that first year and early career into RBC in a pandemic was very challenging. It's a lot harder to start a job when you can't turn to the person next to you and ask that stupid question about why the system's not working.
Yes.
Uh, so that was a massive challenge, but I think similar to the advice we just gave, the way that I was able to get over it is I luckily joined RBC with a cohort of people, but I also had friends that I had talked to from U of T engineering that were already working at RBC. So there's a lot of kind of people I could
Mm,
chat with and connections I could.
yes.
So as I was struggling, I didn't have to message my boss every like 20 minutes just asking them another question. I had kind of
Right.
a wide network of people
Yeah.
to chat with, which was good for my career, but also helped me kind of stay a bit more sane while at home and
Yes.
having as many interactions day to day.
Oh, that's so lovely. And it really does show to like that network that you grew and that you were able to kind of like lean on. I feel like I've always found that with like alumni, people are always very receptive, like to just even reach out and like ask more about what they're doing or like just in your case, like asking about the position and like more kind of to understand more because no one knows everything. So it's so nice to be able to like kind of have that shared wealth, like shared wealth of knowledge. And then what about yourself, Cassie? Have you had like is what's one of the most like kind of biggest obstacles that you've encountered like in your experience?
I mean, for me, I want to talk about more like as a student. So,
Yeah.
since like for me, I didn't study any coding like before back in high school. So I was like zero. I have like zero experience at all. And when I started my first coding course in my first year in Insight, where my classmates there have like tons of experience of doing the coding, and they're even building their own websites and doing some their own front end and back end projects, and I'm still at the phase of like understanding the syntax. So you know the huge difference that I can feel like between me and my classmates, and I feel that was like a very challenging part for me. And like my score at the very first part, first midterm for coding was like only 30 out of 100. I'm not even lying. It's the worst mark that I've got for my whole study life. So I feel like learn about you and other people's difference as the first part that made me feel like challenging at the very first time. But I knew that I need to find like the right approach to solve this, to figure out how to keep track and to chase them and to just decrease like the difference that we have. So I asked for help. I asked my friends, seeing how they approach the coding questions, how they practice, how they understand the syntax. I also asked for professors' help, support, and trying to see if I can have like extra resources I could use. And I spent like extra time of like doing the coding so that I can just like keep track of like my own progress, and I knew that I need to learn more. So I guess my takeaways are just like start learn about coding immediately if you don't have any experience of doing coding before high school, like before university. But for me, at the end, it was like the outcome was good. Like
Yeah.
I'm because like part of our life and part of our work, we need to use coding. So coding is like very essential to our like daily basis. Yeah.
Yes, really love like how you like shared how you overcame that because I think that that is so powerful. Like help is around you. Like it really is just about asking for it. And I feel like kind of both your answers kind of touch upon that where it doesn't it all it takes is just saying like, "Hey, would love to like hear how you would approach this or would love a little bit of assistance with this." And it's like it really does it opens doors. It makes like things make more sense. I know like office hours are like a great tool, like where you can like like you get one-on-one time with the professor or a TA and like you said, let's just kind of like sitting down with them, asking for extra resources, and that what a nod to your determination and your like work ethic to just be like, I know I want to improve myself in this area, and truly like because you can like have limitless potential in anything really. So that's lovely to hear. And there was a second part to this question, which I think is a really good one. What do you wish you had known before starting your studies? Maybe like now that you've gotten at this point, like what do you wish you have known?
Ooh.
Which is a tough one. I feel like
If you have an answer,
that's a
Kathy, feel
reflector.
free. I might need a second to think about this one.
I oh yeah, yeah, Cassie. If you wanted to if you have something that you've thought about.
Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's about like the workload for
Hmm.
being as part of the inside. So when I was thinking back to my second year, that we need to do like praxis, we had to do like computing design courses as far as I
Hmm.
remember, and we have a tons of lab reports I need to write on. And I also took some leadership role of like student clubs as well. So
Hmm.
like time management was so important back in time. So
Absolutely.
so if if I knew that I have like that amount of workload to my second year studies, I think I will just practice to manage my time more perfectly and like balance everything up. So I feel like that's like a very, very important skills because work is important, studying is important, and our own health is also very important. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I couldn't echo that more. I feel like with any transition from like one stage to another, like truly at like any program, like any discipline, like that time management piece really does come into effect. Like kind of learning like this is a new chapter, like it's a new like almost like yeah, just like a new setting. So you're gonna always obviously have that adjustment period where you do need like kind of like figuring out, okay, like how is the best way that I study? I feel like that was a big one for me and just like learning that yes that time management piece because the club aspect of like as we've said like the school community like it's so beautiful it's where you can meet so many people and like really does like there's something for everyone and just kind of getting that like understanding of like how do I want to split my time. I even found speaking to upper years really helpful because then they would almost like inform you and say like this year like there are like let's say like more lab reports in this year and things like that and you could kind of like get an idea but yeah I totally agree that that time management piece that is key. What about you, Ben? How do you echo
Yeah,
or
yeah. I couldn't think of too much better than time management as well. I think that
yes,
was something that I know I really struggled with in first year. I definitely wanted to do everything, and I somehow managed to do everything, but I really sacrificed a lot of sleep to do that. Uh, I think kind of that time management, the planning ahead of I know I have these things due on these days, so if
right.
I'm still going to procrastinate some of them, but what are the ones that I don't procrastinate to actually make sure I have a little bit more time, a little bit less stress coming up to it? It's a skill. It's not a thing to know or a thing not to know, but I think getting more
Absolutely.
practice with it is always valuable.
Absolutely. Oh, couldn't agree more. It's like one of those like it's like a never-ending journey, time management, or at least I've learned that I feel that way. And then there's also I know that we've kind of touched upon like different things about like like as a high school like advice for high school individuals, but in one of the questions in the chat is how would you recommend getting exposure to finance? And they even like kind of touched upon like were there any like specific like I know that both of you have kind of like found your way in finance in different ways, but like are there anything that even now like you recommend, whether it be YouTube channels or like books or any like online resources?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, luckily, or unluckily, finance is in the news a lot these days.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
there's some of the articles are a little dry, but there is some really interesting stuff, and it is probably more relevant than it has been in a while. I think around the pandemic it was really important, and also now with like Terra Tosk and a
For
lot happening
sure.
in the US, finance is kind of top of mind on the articles. So
Hmm.
definitely worth reading some of those. There are some very good YouTube channels. I don't want to recommend any specific ones. I watch some very boring ones, some more engaging. Uh, but honestly, any financial exposure is really valuable, both from a professional side, but also on a personal side.
Hmm.
You'd be just shocked at how little people know about finance as a general person, whether it comes to like investing or credit card expenses and carrying balances. There's just so much on a personal finance side that people don't know. So even learning like just the basic amount there can help you monumentally in your career, but also just in life.
Yeah, I love that. Any step really. Like kind of like having like a that I completely agree though, having like that basic foundation. Because even for like sometimes it's just interesting to look up different topics, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on like a platform like Substack. Like there's so many different ways now to kind of become like just like learn like the basics of something, which is obviously always just going to be something in your repertoire, something in a tool belt, especially if you want to move into this field. That's great. What about yourself, Cassie? Do you have anything that comes to mind, or is it kind of also just like a depends?
I think everything Ben mentioned has been super helpful, but I just want to like just add on because I had a habit of like reading through the Bloomberg News every single morning, and also listen to like the Bloomberg podcast as well. So I feel like that would be super helpful if you want to learn about like daily financial news, and to get to know about like what was going on in the financial market. And
Mhm.
yeah, and oh, also, so some of my friends back in high school, they already set up their own projects. Like they'll start to learn how to invest in money. even back in high school. So I feel like that could be like a very good your own projects like to talk about, like something that you can put on your resume as well. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree. Passion projects is always something that it's one of those things where it's like again, that time management piece, like kind of
Yeah.
carving out time to be able to be like, and especially, and I know Ben, you had said this, if it's something that you're really interested in, like that'll show, and that like it becomes something that you really enjoy, and that in the end you want to do. That's great advice. And then even there's a question tailored to Ben, something about you had referred to earlier about having like working with some finance majors. Like what skills from industrial engineering do you feel gave you like perhaps like an advantage when it came to working in like data or finance related roles? I know you've kind of touched upon this, but if there was any like specific skills you wanted to shout out.
Yeah, definitely like the math side. I think it's really
Hmm.
important. I think a big difference is I don't have as strong a skill set, for example, like reviewing financial statements or even knowledge of like the investing area, like the investing industry overall. I know a basic amount. My main exposure was I managed my own investments for a few years, but mostly boring stuff. Uh, and then kind of entering this role about 2 years ago, I learned a lot of it on the job. So I think
Hmm.
they definitely had a lot more strength, kind of all these niche products, how do you evaluate a company, all these tools that I never really looked at. But I think definitely where my advantage came from is kind of that analytical mindset and the whole data-driven side of things, especially as finance companies are becoming a bit more modernized, and especially as it's more competitive. Data is really where the difference comes in. Especially at RBC, which is a massive company, we have some of the most data on Canadians outside of the Canadian government of pretty much any company there is, but we don't use it that well. So I think that's really where that engineering ability can kind of come in to use that massive tool we have and actually get value out of it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And Cassie, like, did you have anything that you wanted to add, even just on like kind of like skills between like even like the Rotman courses you're taking versus like maybe the things that are more just within your faculty that you've noticed like a difference or
Um, I guess for the ramen courses that I took, they're more like pure finance course compared to
right.
like our course. Like our course, when we're talking about finance, we'll definitely talk about data. We'll definitely need to do codes.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's more like a combination of like finance and also like quantitative part. So it's also fun. It's like just like different type of fun, like
absolutely.
yeah. So
Yes, 100%. Agreed. Yeah, there's fun where you make it, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
And even I see a question here that I don't know if you either of you want to speak to or like things that you've heard of, even your opinion regarding like master's degrees, like when looking to enter a career like this, have you found that like for you, Ben, that like colleagues have that and have pursued that? And then Cassie, is that something that is on your mind? Or yeah, I'll let you kind of either one.
Yeah,
Yeah, Ben, take it away.
we're definitely a mix, I would say, of
Mhm.
folks. A lot of, especially engineering, is a very strong degree to not need a master's.
Mhm.
But that said, there are a lot of engineers, especially within industrial, I'm sure in your team as well, that end up doing an MBA. That's a very common one. MFRM, so the Master of Financial Risk Management, is also a very common one. So those are kind of the two master's degrees that I see floating around the floor, a good chunk. I'd say probably within my area, maybe 20-30% of people have master's degrees are not
Mhm.
super necessary. But in the more like intensive modeling analytics at RBC on my old team, I'd say it's
Yes.
probably about 60 to 70% of people had masters and a good chunk of them even had PhDs. That's like very targeted
Oh,
modeling that
yeah.
is very specialized. So
Yeah. Wow. Like it's the more you know. Like yeah, everyone does kind of like continue and pursue different things. And what about yourself, Cassie? Has that been something that you've thought about?
Actually for me, I don't think I'm gonna take any like master courses or like a master degree for now. Because like even
Yeah.
for we're going to do like MBA, you have to have some like several work year experience and then you can take the MBA. So
Right.
and also when I was like talking with my friends who are also like heading to the financial industry, they are not necessarily like need like a master degree to like get into the financial industry. The more like the earlier that you learn about the whole market and getting into the industry, like the more that you will like you will be like more involved in the work that you need to do. So I guess for master degree, it's definitely not like necessary
Hmm.
but it also like really depends on like every single one's of like goals. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, it's that's such a subjective kind of like decision. And it truly is like what works best for you, like you said, your career interests, your career goals, where you see yourself. Couldn't agree more. One of the other questions that we have is kind of if you both wanted to speak a little bit to like the community that you encountered just like at your time at U of T, just like the group of people, like how you made friends, how you found like just people in your cohort. Like how was if you wanted to speak to that experience.
I could speak about this question for hours, so
Oh,
I'll try to keep this
that's
discussion
awesome.
relatively short.
I love that.
I think community is what keeps me coming back. Like I'm here as a volunteer today because I love the community and want to kind of be a part of it as much as I can as an alumni. But it really does start with Frosh Week. You've probably heard that if you've ever come to campus and talked to any current student, that really is a great way to kind of get involved. It's everyone comes in, everyone's uncomfortable, no one really knows what's happening, and just kind of spend a week with people trying to figure out what's happening. But then kind of beyond, there's so many different clubs at U of T, and they're a really great way to kind of make those initial connections. Like there's clubs that are more design team focused. There's clubs that are passion focused. Like we have uh, a play, we have or a musical, we have all sorts of clubs. And then we just have spirit clubs where there's super blurry now, but there's really no point to the clubs. Their whole point is just to do silly stuff. So we have the band, which you might see playing stop signs around campus.
Yeah.
There's like so many different ways to get involved, and it really is through getting involved that you meet the people. And then you figure out who do I only really see in the club context and who do I really mesh with that I want to kind of be friends outside of that as well.
Oh, I completely agree. The musical club that Ben had referred to, School Night is its name. I was a big member of School Night for my time there. I really loved it. I agree. It's and I also just find that it just becomes like so many additional people you can lean on, like in addition to peers who you're like doing those courses with, but it's also other individuals doing whether it be different like disciplines, like having even in different years, I made a lot of friends like through these clubs where you're just kind of getting to again like expand that network and like get to meet people from different backgrounds, different experiences. And I agree. One of my things that I loved and I keeps me coming back. Cassie, what about yourself? How about your experience?
So like I feel like my experience are so similar to Ben's. It's like the first is definitely the Frosh Week that I got the chance to like make friends with people that are not from engineering science because you know like we all took our own courses that we didn't have the chance to get to make friends with like people from different discipline. So I got my friends from like Mac, from ECE, even from Frosh, and we still have like a great connections together. So we usually hang out and like have fun and like do the revisions together. And yeah, so that's how friendship is built. And the second part is like clubs, because students are always share like similar interests together. I have friends that very interested in like car racing. They have like the
Yeah.
Formula One teams that build their own race car, I guess. And also you just mentioned Stephanie about like school night. I'm
Yeah.
a big fan of school night. I watch it like every single year for that. So it's like super fun. Like clubs always can bring students together and people can get to know each other and like form like a stronger bond.
Absolutely. And it really does build that supportive community. Like and yeah, it's a great way to keep the just the school spirit, as Ben had said. And I one of the other questions in the chat had even just asked specifically if there were clubs or organizations you feel like that either you were a part of or you like heard of that were helpful or related to like this finance career, like the kind of that field, finance business.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do any finance clubs. I did
Yeah.
all the really silly stuff that was more for fun than for for academic enrichment.
Yeah.
So I definitely can't talk on the finance. I don't know, Cassie, if you did any finance-based stuff.
Oh, I think I know one. There's one club in U of T Engineering. It's called UTEFA, U of T Engineering Financial Association, I guess. And that is a club that targeting for students that wants to know about finance, want to know about like investment banking, sales and trading. They're hosting like a lot of like students on competition as well. So it's like super fun for people that want to learn about finance and wants to start a career in finance industry as well. But like for my own experience, since like I love to talking to people, and I just like participating in different clubs and being as taking the leadership role, being as like external relations directors, like business development directors, so that I could form my own like connections, and that's also super fun.
It's so funny. What a great segue. Someone actually asked in the chat, what is something that has helped you improve your networking skills that you feel like has potentially made you like stand out in this realm?
Yeah, I feel like the ways to improve networking is more about like talking more, like approaching to more people. Because
Mhm.
for every single time when we talk to people and we know that what are some questions that we need to ask, and at first we could be very shy about like the questions and all about like the wordings that we approach to people, but eventually you will get to like, oh, I'm very confident about what I'm going to talk about. And I really hope that we can form any like partnerships or getting some advice from you. So like it makes me easier to like forming a connections with people, and I kind of love the ways of like networking. Because it's a way for me to learn about the market, learn about people, and learn about the whole industry as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's like a faucet of knowledge, in my opinion, like getting to talk to so many people. What about yourself, Ben?
It is, yeah. I find networking it's a tricky one because networking can be fake a lot of the time, and it's very noticeable when it is. I find what really helps me to network is really building genuine connections. Like
Hmm.
talking to people in classes. Most of when I was looking for my work, when I wanted to work at CIBC for my internship or RBC after graduating, uh, someone that I had met through some silly activity on campus was already working at those places. So it was very nice to be able to reach out to someone that I'd known for years at that point and get the really honest answer if it was worth going there.
Yes,
Because if you don't know someone too well, they might sugarcoat stuff a lot. But knowing someone who like I've known for years, you get a really raw answer. That's extremely valuable. Mutual connections is so valuable for that as well. Like if you have a close friend that's a couple years above you, if there's a company you're thinking about and you don't know anyone there, ask your friend if they know someone there. There's a good chance they do, and it's very effective if you're networking with someone with a mutual friend, you kind of have that shared connection or shared experience.
absolutely.
So any way that you can make networking genuine, it makes it
Yes.
both more enjoyable for you, but you also get a lot more out of it.
Absolutely. There's even that like character piece to it. I find that like you when you know someone, you also know like their character, and so then they know your character. And that can even be like really helpful with like as you said, like reaching out to other people. Someone can kind of vouch on your behalf that they're like, I've known you for X many years and like can have great things to say, which is always lovely. We're coming up on our end time. I know we still have questions in the chat, so if people have anything, oh look, even Erin has already beat me to it. If you have any questions, even those that are more maybe specific to yourself, if you want to send those over, and we can kind of distribute those accordingly. One in the chat that I see is a popular one. It's come up twice. If you guys again want to give your like insight or opinion on this, so this is the kind of area it discusses is like AI in this field. So to what extent do you think that coding skills are like relevant like today? I know that they are relevant, but even just with this upcoming like AI automation and AI becoming like a bigger thing, like do you have kind of like a take on that or just any insight that you'd like to share?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting my work because RBC was very resistant to AI. For like the first 2 years where AI was becoming big, the answer was don't use AI. But since then, we've kind of adapted it. The way that we use AI at RBC is mostly for kind of assisting with coding rather than replacing it. Because the challenge with it is for simple functions that you can review and actually spend the due diligence on. Yeah, it's pretty good at writing them. Or if you wanted to help debug or find creative ways to attack stuff, awesome for that. Where we take the risk is when we over rely on it, where we have it write something that's too large to review, or we have people that don't have the coding experience writing AI that don't know how to double check that's actually giving the right answer. So I'd say AI is a very useful tool, but at least at RBC, we try to keep it as a tool rather than as a replacement. I don't know if you've had
Yes.
a similar or different experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I hold like a very similar opinion for that, and especially for the energy market, since for energy markets, it's like a more traditional sectors. So from my experience, the implementation of AI to power market to energy is actually slower than like the normal pace that like AI implementing into a financial industry, because there are a lot of like confidential concerns nowadays for the use of AI. I guess coding is definitely essentials for our own like day-to-day work, but AI shouldn't be as like a replacement of the work. Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I agree. I agree. And I know, yeah, we only have a couple minutes left, so I wanted to end off on my personal favorite question, which is what is your favorite school memory? I for Ben it would be like over the years, and for Cassie like even just yeah, like you're in your final year, and just I love hearing it. I love hearing this question.
Yeah, of course. So, I was thinking back to my first year when I was still in living Chestnut, and me and my teammates, we were staying overnight to build the bridges for our civil engineering courses back in first year, and we just stayed there overnight, and we were kind of frustrated because we have to work on the projects itself, we have to build the prototype, and we have to write out the report as well, and we have to finish it up, and it has like a tight deadline, but suddenly someone just say, "Oh, that was the first snowfall of Toronto that year," and every one of us just ran to the street at
Oh,
3 a.m. in the morning and to experience the snow, you know. Like at that time, like the stress just like vanished at the moment. So I feel like that was the memory that I will like keep forever, that with my teammates. And even right now, it's like 5 years later, I still remember the moments that I saw the first snowfall in Toronto with my friends and at 3 a.m. in the morning.
that's so sweet. That like really got me. That's so lovely. That is very, very lovely. And it that feels like the episode that feels like a Friends episode. I can't explain
Yeah.
it, but it feels like it.
Yeah.
And then Ben, I feel like you might, as someone who was like involved in a lot of school spirit activities, you must have.
Tough pick. It's a tough pick. There's like honestly, I could pick a dozen answers, and I'd be happy to give any of them. But the one I'll pick is maybe even the more generic one. It's Iron Ring. So let me
Oh.
explain quickly what that is for the people that don't know. So engineers in Canada, we get an iron ring to wear on our pinky fingers when we graduate. And the idea of the iron ring is that it kind of represents your responsibility as an engineer to make decisions that are good for humanity, essentially. And they're not doing harm, and they're doing your due diligence, and you're not doing work that is unethical. So as we get this iron ring, which I think is coming up in about 90 days, 95 days for you, Cassie, if I'm remembering
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah.
Uh, so we got the iron ring sometime in March. Mine was just before the pandemic, March 8th. So about 4 days left of the pandemic. Uh, you have like this big secretive ceremony, and then there's a whole bunch of parties afterwards. And you really just get to celebrate with not just your class, but all the different engineers across your graduating year, which is awesome because, as Cassie had mentioned, you make friends in all these different disciplines that you don't always get to celebrate with at your discipline specific stuff. So it's really just this great opportunity to put like a nice big bow on engineering. We still have another month of school after that, but that was kind of the one night where we got to say, hey, we've been working really, really hard for 4 years, 5 years with PUI. And now every day I get to wear it with me and kind of remember both that Iron Ring day, but also kind of my whole time at university.
Oh, I love that answer. I think that's also what a great way to sum up our session here today. Kind of, yeah, that whole journey. And I agree. It is such a beautiful like I know. I even when you mentioning that, I like became more aware that I was wearing it. I agree. It's like such a beautiful like reminder and in general, like that oath that we take as engineers. Um, thank you so much. We are at time. I wanted to again thank both of you. You guys were wonderful panelists, incredible answers and insight. Thank you to my colleague Erin in the back for answering questions in the Q&A feature and help and assisting on that end. And thank you to all of you. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, whether it be or afternoon or evening or anytime. But yes, thank you for joining us. Okay, everyone, we'll sign off now. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.